Welcome to the space between heaven on earth. This is a companion podcast to Awakening Heaven on Earth, created as a space for reflection, conversation, and lived experience. Here, we enter the pause between knowing and becoming, between insight and embodiment, between heaven and earth. These conversations are not about answers or conclusions. They are about presence, about listening, about reasoning together, about meeting one another honestly in the unfolding journey of awakening. I'm your host, Jeffrey Aylor. Again, welcome and thank you for entering the space between with us. Welcome. In this episode, we're entering into a theme that sits quietly beneath so many of our experiences, the sense of being separate. Separate from our divine creator, separate from one another, separate from the earth, and sometimes even separate from ourselves. I'm your host, Jeffrey Aylor, and today I'm grateful to be joined in this conversation by my friend Joe Dermody and my son Joel Aylor. Each of us comes to this question from a different place through relationship, inquiry, different experiences, and reflection. And it feels really meaningful to me to hold this space together with the two of you today. So Joel, thank you both for being here and entering into the exploration of this with me today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So before we go into the reflection questions, I'd really like to invite each one of you to personally share, in your own words, what does the idea of separation or the veil bring up to you personally?
For me, separation, the veil is no longer something I believe in, but it is something I still experience sometimes on a daily basis. It's the idea that everything in life is separate from us, that we're just going through this as an individual, and that everyone else is having their own individual experiences, and there's nothing in common with each other, or that basically we're all in this for ourselves, and that we're not doing this as a community or as friends, whatever you might want to call it. But yeah, to me, it's just this idea. It's more of an idea than it is an actual lived experience. But we our minds are so strong that we oftentimes basically see it and feel it as separation when I don't think there actually is any.
Awesome.
I think that it's there. I think it's something that is self-imposed, though. The agreement when we come to Earth in this body, I think it's something that we choose to put here in place so that we have the ability to use Earth as a learning place, something so that we don't come here with all the knowledge that we have in our spirit form, and we have the ability to learn while we're here.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there. I think that we come into this earth not separate. I think babies fully sense connectedness to even where they came from and everyone around them at all times, and they eventually learn separateness.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. I agree with you. I think that separation, we do learn it. And I do think that I've often hear people say, boy, I wish I were younger and I knew then what I know now. And I always say, well, yeah, but you would be the weirdest young person ever.
Yeah, it wouldn't be any fun.
Because you know too much,
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to come into this life and with all of the knowledge and memories from all of the previous lives that we have lived or experiences we've had, we would be probably really, really weird people.
Well, you can't be old and wise, and you can't be old and wise until you've been young and stupid. So
yeah,
right.
All right.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I wish that more people would love like they were kids again.
Yeah. Yeah. Find the kid within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There's actually, in the Christian beliefs, there's scripture for that. In fact, Jesus said, people should be like this little child, right? People should be more like this little child, because I think I agree with Joel in that a lot of traditions believe that, children are, they're much more open to spirit and what they can see and believe. And, they don't have so much. I do believe the veil grows. It's a learned experience. It grows.
That's the fall.
Totally.
Mm.
It's the beginning of Christian scriptures. It's the idea that they're separate or that they were different.
Right. And the veil can be so many different things and in so many different layers.
Oh, absolutely.
So as we touch on this, I think maybe we'll get into that. I know as I was putting a lot of this material together, it just strikes me, our body is a veil. We are not our body. It covers, a veil is a cover, right? It covers our true being, which is spirit.
Right.
So, with that in mind, see, we've already got a great conversation going here. So, I just want to make sure that we touch on the spirit that we hold here when we have this conversation. And I think it's really important that, we're not here to uncover something that's hidden. We're not here to correct something that is broken, or we don't know everything. We're all on a journey and learning it together. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. In fact, Joel and I, before we started recording the episode, was talking about how, in my past, I thought I was right about everything. I thought I had it figured out. I thought that my way was the way.
And it's easy to do when you come from a place of ego,
right?
That type of
the ego is covering.
It is. It's basically, it is essentially almost the veil.
It is
in a lot of ways
a big part of the veil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we go into these, I just want to make sure they're meant to help us notice and to be honest and to have compassion that, we're still experiencing division in our lives because of our thoughts and the way we see things at this point, when connection actually is there. To your point, it's a concept that is deceiving us, because we're connected whether we believe it or not.
True.
Right?
Oh yeah. We don't, things don't happen in a vacuum.
No. So we're going to touch on a couple of different perspectives when it comes to this question of separation and the veil. And the first question that I want to ponder here is, when do I first remember learning, directly or indirectly, that I was separate from the divine source, from others, from nature, or from life itself? When did that first come into our thoughts?
So I don't remember a single moment where separation was, taught outright. It was more absorbed unconsciously. Came through basically the mind breaking things up into systems and categorizing things and organizing things so that I kind of better understood, how the world worked or how people interacted. But it wasn't a specific moment per se. You're kind of taught that the body's one thing, the mind's one thing, the spirit's a whole other issue. When in reality, they're all interconnected. So it was more subtle than it was a strict moment in time that and honestly, if you want to say, when did I realize that the veil was a thing, or separateness was, what I had been experiencing, was when I realized that it wasn't actually true. That's when you realize, wait a second, this has been going on the whole time, right? So it's not actually a thing, and we are fully, connected in lots of different ways. So I had to basically get to that point and experience life the way it was taught to me or brought about, and then come to another experience where I realized, hey, we're all fully connected in a lot of different ways. And that's when you start to see it fall apart, and it comes back. You see it fall, you see what's on the other side, maybe, or you experience something that you just can't really explain, or transcends what you already understand. And then you fall back into old habits and things like that, and it comes back. So you start to actually see it, not actually with your eyes, but with feeling and experience inside yourself.
Yeah. So for me, I guess it would be biology, right? For physical, separation of me and nature and others. Society, high school, junior high, when you find that you're really different from others. To learn about the veil, I didn't really have a religious upbringing per se. We talked about that last time, that it wasn't a huge part of my life growing up, in and out of a Baptist church and then Methodist church, but not a lot of time in either, really. So it would, I learned about the veil really just looking at this material a year or two ago. So I guess that would be my first experience, even thinking about that, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think that's a good point. In many cases, and both of you kind of touch on this, you don't know that there's a veil, right?
Right.
Or that you're in that what you're thinking or what you're feeling is not true. So, I hope that this material, I hope these conversations that people are listening and they haven't thought about it, that it will at least bring it into their thought process, and the paradigm can shift to be able to recognize it. From a young age, we start teaching children, this is our family. That's not, they're not our family. This is our house. That's not our house. Yep. And, we start, at that point you're dividing. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's, well, this country is our country. It's not, that's not our country. Yet astronauts will tell you when they look at the Earth from space, none of those things are there.
Yeah, those lines don't exist.
All but none of those lines really exist.
Not at all.
They're totally created. And I'll be honest, today, in our world today, this is a huge problem.
Oh, absolutely.
And I didn't see it for most of my life. And now it's obvious, right? It's just like any time, you first become aware of something, it was there all along. You just couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden you see it everywhere. It's like Joe and I talk at work. Yeah. When I've trained on processes, I said, hey, when I teach you this, I'm going to run your life because you're going to start seeing them everywhere. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you're going to start seeing is actions and behaviors that cause or create the idea that we're separate. Now, coming from a Christian background, I've come now to learn that what we call sin, a sin is anything that makes you think, feel, or act in a way that creates perceived separation. And death is separation. Death is a separation.
Yeah.
Hell is the suffering you experience believing that you're separate.
Mm-hmm. We create our own hells.
We create it.
Yeah.
And it's not a place. It's totally a state of mind and a state of thought that
I've been there.
Right?
I've been there. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things I think that kind of shape this idea or this understanding or this thought process that we're separate. Our eyes, our senses make us feel, that, well, I'm separate from you. I have a different body. I have, all these different things that cause us to perceive separation. This is why I think the scriptures do talk about seeing, they cannot see, hearing, they cannot hear, right? Our senses are blocking our real ability spiritually to see, to sense. So clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, and clairsentient.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which are all the...
And there's many other senses in the five that we know that we don't a lot of times give credit to. So
I'm going to move on to this next. I really love this question. So I'm excited to kind of dive into this one about the inner veil. And in what moments do we feel most divided within ourselves, within yourself, between what you think, what you feel, how you live? When does that really pop up in your heart and in your mind, this division inside yourself?
Okay. For me, it's when my understanding of things runs ahead of my body or my mind. So basically, I know something innately. It just comes to me. It's like, that's truth to me. I understand that. I can resonate with that. I connect with that. But my body's still carrying old patterns, old habits. My life is not meeting that exact understanding. And there's a dissonance there. So I really feel like I'm separate from what I'm experiencing in this body in this time. And that division is not necessarily, wrong or contradicting itself. It's just a timing issue for me. It's just an understanding that I'm seeing these things. I'm understanding this truth, and I need to basically bring it into my own life and have everything kind of align, so I can feel that separateness between my understanding or in my actual day to day. So,
I've said this a few times to you as you're growing up in different conversations that, a lot of times we can have a head knowledge of something, but not have a heart knowledge of it. It's not at a point where we believe it so deeply that it actually changes our life, the way we act or the way we think or the way we are going to behave. And we're comprised of body, mind, and spirit. And when I think on my thoughts, when I know something I think to be right or good, and I do something opposite to that, I feel that separation in myself. Mm-hmm. And again, psychology, it's called cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Because it's comfortable, because it's a habit.
It's a habit.
It's something you've always done.
Then you do it and you feel bad, right? And that division inside yourself, I think a lot of what drives division outside of people is the division that they have inside. They're projecting their own internal division issues on other people.
Are you saying you're creating your own reality?
In other words, you are creating your own reality, or you're reaping what you sow, or
your outside world is just mirroring your inside world.
Or, yes, the inner is not like the outer. So as we get later on in all of our material, we'll get into the book Wisdom. And in that book, I'll touch on the Hermetic principles. And one of the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what the Bible teaches in Christianity is that we need to get aligned. We need to align body, mind, and spirit.
We need to make straight the way of the Lord.
We need to make straight.
Is that not what
there's a path? There's a way.
What does that mean?
A narrow way.
Why did that have to be done before he came?
Yeah, there you go.
A little nugget of thought for you.
I'll chew on that one for a little while.
All right, so that makes a lot more sense now. Hearing about that. So I'm a former smoker. I don't think I have near as many bad habits as I once did. But thinking of it that way, I understand a lot more than about doing one thing and thinking the other. I've started becoming a lot more healthy now than I used to be. I work out a lot more now than I used to. A lot stricter on what I put into my body than I used to.
Yeah, you're aware.
Yeah, a lot more. So
that's half the battle.
So it is. It's a lot of it.
But how many people know? They know they should work out. They know they should eat healthy.
Guilty as charged.
They know they shouldn't do this or do that.
Yeah, they do it anyway.
They do it anyway.
Right. Also, the way you treat people, the way you think about, the world. So yeah, I understand the question a lot more, I think now, but I feel that I don't have a lot of division in the way that I think about that kind of thing, because I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve a lot of the time. And I don't feel like I have as much conflict in that area. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure I do still in some ways, but it's hard for me to think of a way right now where I do that or do it often. I'm sure I do, but
it gives us a tool.
Yeah.
To use to assess, how am I doing right now? Am I covering over things? Am I aligned, right, in my thoughts, my heart, my actions?
That's where meditation comes in so much handy, because you just got to learn to give yourself grace, that you're not behind, that you're not, you're going to make mistakes, or you're going to realize that your mind wanders, or that you're going to make a wrong decision, and it's okay. Learn from it, realize it. That's just being aware of it is literally the whole thing.
Well, and I love your statement of giving yourself grace. It's
easy to be hard on yourself.
Yeah. Self-forgiveness and self-love.
Well, yeah.
If you, this is why, even again in Christian teaching, love God and then love yourself, or love others as you love yourself. You've got to love yourself to love others first, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give something you don't have.
And when you do, it causes problems.
Big time. Yeah,
absolutely.
It creates issues, right? So, and in that case, a lot of the love you might be giving people feels insincere in a lot of ways, I think.
Or it comes with strings attached.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a string attached.
Right.
But being self-forgiving, how can you ask someone else to forgive themselves if you can't forgive yourself?
Right? Absolutely.
It creates an incongruity, a hypocrisy.
Right.
And we know what hypocrisy does to any foundational belief, whatever the tradition is.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy destroys.
Yeah, you have to walk the talk. Live the life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where in relationships do we notice subtle forms of distance or division, assumptions or roles or expectations? What are the unspoken stories that create space between me and other people?
You use 3 different adjectives there that essentially could be wrapped into one, and that's called judgment.
Yeah.
So
Judgment creates separation. When I look at somebody and I think that they're different than me or separate from me, we're automatically separated. Instead of thinking, this person, looking at this person as to who they are right now, not who they were before, not who they're trying to be later on. It's a judgment. The mind automatically assumes things. So if you're able to look at somebody who they are right now, not who they were, that's a big step in realizing that you're not separate from that person. They're going through something. You don't know what it is, but coming to them, as a pharmacist, seeing the worst, and a lot of times seeing people in their worst moments because they're sick, they're needing help, they're coming to you because they're not well. Realizing that they're angry for certain reasons you don't understand. Being able to sit back and realize, hey, I've been there before. I know what they're going through. And being able to approach it that way, you can connect. But what you said there's a handful of adjectives that essentially wrapped into one nice little present is called judgment. And we do it all the time.
Yeah. Self-judgment.
Even
self-judgment of others.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment of truth.
Projection.
You're projecting again, right?
Mm-hmm.
You project outwardly on other people things you're struggling to deal with yourself internally. This is what I love about Carl Jung and his principles in psychology, because he talks about the shadow and just coming to the grips with the fact that I have a shadow.
He also has a great quote where he says it's people judge because it's easier than thinking.
Yeah, it's simple. It's easy, right?
You already have preconceived notions. You already have stereotypes. You already have things in mind as soon as you see somebody, right? You don't actually stop and be like, all right, what's actually going on? Why are they being this way, or why are they in this situation?
Yeah, there's a teaching that says, judge not on the outward appearance. What that's saying is, don't let your eyes deceive you as to what you're seeing is really true. we talk about this in our work a lot, that in most cases, what people are upset about with you is not the real reason they're upset.
Right.
We're multi-layered. That veil, that covering is very thick, and you have to peel it back like an onion to get to the root issue as to why someone is having, or behaving a certain way. And I think what we're touching on, there's another word, I think, like judgment, that we need to, is compassion. If you're judgmental of people, you're not being compassionate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want and need to be is compassionate. I like the statement that judgment is easy. Being compassionate requires some effort.
It does.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. I still fail at that, on a daily basis sometimes.
Relationships are probably one of the greatest teachings that we have, right? And it doesn't end, I can tell you. I'm a little bit older than both of you, and I can tell you that in the I'm still learning this every day. I'm learning it within myself. I'm learning it in all the relationships I have, whether they're my home life or work life or whatever life that I'm touching at that point. It's compassion. It's such a beautiful word. I love meditations that help you get into that mindset of not overreacting to what you see or what you hear, which is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to do that and judge. And so,
yeah, so relationships are hard, but worth it.
Yeah.
So they're a laboratory.
Absolutely.
It's still life's laboratory.
That still makes it sound so insensitive, but yes, you're right. I love the relationships I have.
You're such a people person.
I know I am. It's who I am.
Well, it's a beautiful trait. Joe is one of those people that when someone responds in a way that's kind of off, if one of us working with them say, hey, so-and-so, well, but you don't, he'll say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, you don't know what their day has been like or what they're dealing with. And, step back and give them some grace. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
So
I have Play-Doh feet. They fit in a lot of different shoes.
I like that.
All right. So let's turn this discussion toward our earthly mother. So how does our relationship with the natural world reflect a sense of either connection or separation? This is the big one for me. I have to be honest, because I'm one of the, I have always viewed the earth as an inanimate object to be used, and that it's not living. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have any emotion to it. It doesn't think. Boy, have I flipped 180 degrees on that.
Well, that took some deconstructing of other thoughts in order to be able to open to that.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what changed this thinking for me is when we started to think about grounding, to tell you the truth. So this happened, 2.5 years ago, maybe?
2.5 years ago, we got on a grounding.
Yeah. And so I've got an electrical
thing
engineering degree.
People,
yeah. And so I have an electrical engineering degree, and this is something that I just never really thought about, right? But probably should have. And the video I first watched was the one on earthing. And they started describing how the extra electrons can cause so much harm to your body. And I was like, that actually makes quite a bit of sense. I understand how that can see how that could cause inflammation. I can see how it could cause a whole lot of long-term effects. I can see how some of the problems that we have as in our society happened about the time we started wearing insulating materials on our feet. Okay, a lot of this makes sense. And then I started thinking more and more about our ancient history, how people were more in touch with the earth and how
They were farmers.
They were farmers, absolutely, but they depend on the earth, right, for all of their survival. And then I thought back about when I was younger and how much camping I did and how much better I felt when I was out there, how much I went barefoot all the time when I was a kid, all the time. My feet had calluses. They had, they were always dirty. I remember my mom treating me like I treated my dog, right? For the longest time. All right, come in, wipe your feet off, get your feet clean. Just like I had to wipe off, my dog's feet. And how much healthier I was when I was younger, and it just all made a lot of sense to me there. And then you get back into a lot of the stuff I'm watching now and learning about now. And just how much the earth gives to us from the rainforest, from just everything it can teach us, and I think there's a lot out there that most people just do not realize.
Yeah. Well, again, we do things to it, believing we're separate from it. And in reality, when we do things to it that hurt it, we're just hurting ourselves. I now see the earth as a being, as a creature, as a creation that is alive, just like we are. In fact, I believe we are a microcosm of the earth. I think our bodies, natural bodies, are a microcosm.
We're gardens.
Right, we're gardens.
Yeah.
In fact, your body is the garden. It's Eden.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your garden, to me, your body is Eden. Your heart is the garden, right? And we are placed in it. And, I know, Joel, you've come to see a lot of things relative to food. As a pharmacist, you recognize that food is medicine, right? Food is medicine. Plants are medicine. And the problem is that a lot of people can't make money off of that.
Well, they can. It has to be done very differently. You'd have rich farmers instead of rich doctors.
Yeah. What a concept that would be. I bet the farmers might go for that.
I wish it was that way.
They'll become our biggest audience.
I wish it was that way. Yeah. So, the natural world doesn't see itself as fragmented or separated. We see it as such.
Right.
We don't realize that basically when we are disconnected within ourselves, that's when, we start to treat this earth as a resource or something that we have to basically take from. We don't realize that we are the earth. Our bodies don't exist without it. Everything that is inside your body came from the earth. Your mother, when you were in her womb, created you by having the building blocks that came from her food and her drink, whatever it was that she had put inside her body, it gave to you. We're not separate from it. And once you start to see that, you start to appreciate it more. And I started to appreciate that more. And I mentioned this in the last episode during COVID when we started to grow our own food, just because I was like, okay, who knows what's going to go down this path with food scarcity or things getting disrupted. Are we going to have food on the table, or are things going to get outrageously expensive where we can't afford it anymore, whatever it might be? What if we start growing our own food like people used to do all the time throughout history? Everyone forever grew their own food.
Right.
It's just now where we've gotten into a industrialized society where we depend on someone else making our own food.
Well, we certainly we allow convenience to be more important than quality, in my opinion. As a chef, I know the quality of a meal or a dish is totally contingent on the quality of the ingredients that go into it.
Sure.
Now, you can take really good ingredients and mess them up. I'll be honest.
100%. Sure.
But you've got to start with good raw material right?
And that all comes from
It all comes
Earth.
from the earth. And the other thing is that the work associated with the growing of your food, get your hands and your feet into the dirt and into the earth, which grounds you. All of that works together and is a beautiful cycle. And we've gotten away from that. To me, we have built a life based on ease, not on right or truth, right? It's all about ease
convenience.
and convenience versus what makes the most sense for us. Because we are regulated by natural law and by spiritual law.
Right.
And when you break those laws,
Yeah,
bad things tend to happen.
sure. Yeah, I mean, what you've basically seen is essentially the deterioration of agriculture in our entire society. Our soil is completely depleted with actual good nutrients. The fruits and vegetables that we grow today, even if they're grown in good soil, still just contain very few a small percentage of what they used to, say, 50 to 100 years ago. It's just not there. It's not in the soil because we're not doing anything to take care of the actual soil. So that's the root cause. And what we've done basically to try to overcome that is we've looked within these plants. And you said food is medicine. Well, a lot of our medicines just come from plants. The chemicals that we find that do these certain things, we isolate them and we reintroduce them back into the body, which is great, but nothing works in isolation. The breakdown of your food is so much more complex than our minds can comprehend. It's not one chemical that does it. It works in tandem with everything else inside that food that your body just naturally, innately knows how to process. You don't have to teach it. You don't digest your food. How often do you eat food? How much after that do you sit and think about, all right, now I need to digest this?
Yeah, it's innate wisdom.
Your body has all of the wisdom it needs. You just have to give it the correct building blocks to use it.
So share some of the books I know that you really have dug into on these topics, that because we reference a lot of these in the Unity book and in all the books that we're going to be sharing with people over the next few years. But I know there are a few books specifically that got
me going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
The first one I came across was called Whole, WHOLE. And it was written by a guy who did a massive, massive study called the China Study in the 80s and 90s, and basically found that we had this all wrong. That basically the whole science behind the reductionist attitude of food and health and stuff was wrong. And it garnered a lot of attention, but it also hit a lot of nerves on people who were basically making money in a lot of ways that basically it threatened them. That one really, really opened me up to, hey, what else is there? Some other books that I've come across. I'm trying to remember the name of the. One of them was Pharmacology or something like that. Yeah. I think I lent that one to you. But then what other ones?
The Omnivore's Dilemma.
Oh, thank you. By one of my favorite authors, Michael Pollan. The Omnivore's Dilemma is fantastic. And then also his book, In Defense of Food, should be required reading for everyone in this country. It would open up so many eyes to what's going on. And both those books, The Omnivore's Dilemma and In Defense of Food, will just completely change your view on how we interact with our own food.
Well, so many of the autoimmune disease that people struggle with today.
It is a complete sequela, or it's basically an extension of our bad food. That's all it is.
So again, there are a lot of people out there making a lot of money.
100%. That's why it's an uphill battle. It's no different than trying to fight the pharmaceutical industry. That big ag is just as big, if not, it's basically the number 2 right behind big pharma. And, to be on the big pharma side of things where I'm dispensing the pills, it really, we're talking about a internal conundrum here. Like, it's a ethical dilemma or a fight of consciousness. You're fighting against, what I'm seeing and understanding and learning, and it rings true. And then I'm on the other side of it, dispensing the pills. It makes for a very tense internal environment myself. So the problem is that a lot of people don't want to hear it. You may talk to them about it, and they may agree with you. They may say, you know what, that makes total sense, and you're right, but it doesn't change anything.
But it's not going to change anything.
No, and it's a big lift.
And there are so many across all the different wisdom literature and the different traditions. Many of them have a teaching on food and eating.
Yeah.
I know one of the real eye-opening things for me is have been learning and studying about the Essenes.
Right.
The Essenes is in the Essene Gospel of Peace. It talks so much about food and the way the Essene people. So the Essenes, for people who may not be familiar with them, were one of the three fundamental groups of the
Judaism. Yeah.
Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
You were either a Pharisee, a Sadducee, or you were an Essene.
Mm-hmm.
And these Essenes they didn't congregate in cities. They lived out in the rural areas. So they were away from big city, big government, big institution, the institution religion but they had very strong opinions and feelings about their food. And if you go to other cultures, I can tell you as someone who travels, other countries, food is so much more important to them in their culture and their life, the quality of their life, the quality of their food is so much better.
It is.
And
100%.
they don't have a lot of the same health issues. You think of the French paradox.
Yep.
How do they eat fats and consume wine,
butter,
and
everything in
all
French?
These different things.
The ingredient of French cuisine is butter.
So
Fresh.
Right.
So fresh.
It's local. It's fresh.
they eat fresher food, right?
Yeah.
So all those things I think are important. Now the other thing, or before we finish here, I want to touch on is plants are medicine, right? We touched on this a little bit, and I know that there are some really great studies going on right now about certain plants that cultures have used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years as part of their, I don't want to call it a religious practice, but
it was
to help with the mind and the body.
They use
healing,
but we tie this together. They use those plants to dissolve the veil.
The veil, correct.
They used it to literally drop the veil and see actual reality.
Yet they're illegal in many places.
There's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to give, that's no different than the 60s and 70s with LSD or mushroom, whatever the drug was, during that countercultural revolution. People started to realize, hey, this is not the way it's supposed to be. This isn't good. We're going to live life this way. And now guess what? They were freed. They were outside of what people wanted to control. So government said, all right.
In the eyes of the people.
Exactly. So basically what they did, they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
But now we're actually starting to see those same drugs, say LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, all those
ayahuasca,
being used in a controlled environment, in a clinical environment, and they're actually curing some of the problems we're having.
PTSD, depression,
all of it. It's not even just helping it; it's curing it.
Right.
It's literally getting rid of it. Now, guess what? I mean, you're talking about a whole other industry here who's making billions of dollars off of treating that, so they don't want that to come to light either.
Right.
So you've got a whole basically quagmire there, but basically it's all about control. They don't want you to be able to see that because now you see beyond them. Yeah. Now you're seeing reality as it truly is.
Well, and there is truth to the fact that the truth shall make you free.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't want.
They no longer depend on the government.
Free. Right.
They no longer depend on someone else to do it for them.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a whole kind of not really revolution. It's just basically coming to light in a different way, an awakening in a different way. Because I mean, it came big and it came strong in the 60s and 70s, almost overshot, and that's probably why people got scared.
Well, and I think it probably was being done in a less than controlled way.
Which doesn't. I'm not even worried about that. It's just what you're hearing are the extremes. You would hear an extreme example, no different than our news now.
Right.
What you're seeing is all extremes. It's not all. Life isn't all like that.
On both sides.
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically, what it was just they had to get under control And that was their way of doing it, and shutting down those chemicals or those access to those plants. They made them illegal. But they're starting to see actual clinical value in them now. And I'm hoping that those actually do make it to the shelves, or make it to a clinic where you can actually go and actually get that service and that help.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most of us at this point have either listened to a podcast about it, or you've read about it, or you know somebody personally.
Even Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan, another one.
I'm looking over in a book right now, How to Change Your Mind. Right?
Yeah, that book is
that
mind blowing.
Yeah, right. You've got another book that I think is The Immortality Key.
Yep.
Which touches on
the religious aspect
religious elements of the sacrament,
the exact same thing,
and how they believe that those sacraments were actually
they opened them up, gave them,
dissolved the veil.
Instead of going to church and just being in church, it gave them a religious experience.
Right. Oh my gosh, we could just go on and on. And on. Right.
Yeah. There's no tangents. It is all connected.
That's right.
How beautifully tied up is that?
Well, Joe says that to me all the time. Don't you, Joe? Isn't it beautiful? The connection, the unity of this as you learn, and
everywhere you look.
Once you start to see it.
Once you start looking.
That's right.
you gotta dissolve the veil a bit to be able
That's
to.
That's right. Just a little bit. Thin it out.
Once you do that, you can't go back.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. It ruins you. Joe and I had that conversation. It ruins you, right?
I think it makes you better.
You see the world different.
Yeah. Right. It changes you.
And it's been here all along.
Yeah. Everything throughout history has been talking about it. All the different examples of things we learn about is just that. It's different people experiencing it, experiencing the divine in different ways, and trying to come to terms with it.
Right. Beautiful.
It's almost like you're just learning a new language. You're learning a new way to interpret what's already been there. Right.
Yeah, it's always been there.
It's always been there. You're just learning a new way to interpret it. See that it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to say, I really appreciate always the opportunity to sit with the two of you and have these conversations. But we're going to have to bring it to a close. And I just want to pause and acknowledge something very simple and very human, right? The sense of separation does not disappear all at once in your perception. It takes some time. It softens quietly. You're going to go through moments, where of listening and honesty, and as you do certain practices, which we're also going to be coming out this week, quite honestly, with a companion podcast to this one and to our Awakening podcast called Living Heaven on Earth. The first episode should come out tomorrow, and that's going to touch on a lot of different practices across all the different traditions that help you learn to see and learn to dissolve that veil. So our hope is that this will be a catalyst for some people who this may not be in their awareness, right? So, and for those that are actively on the path, a help and be a guide as well. So Joel, Joe, thank you both for sharing your voices, your honesty, your questions, your willingness to sit with me in this space between, without needing to resolve it, by the way. This is like a never-ending conversation. So, and for those of you that are listening, I hope this conversation revealed places where the veil may still feel present in your life, and let that awareness help you gently, rather than in a difficult way, like being judged. Help dissolve that
through some
veil.
Kind of tragedy.
Yeah, I don't want you to have to go through tragedy or trauma. Not everybody, has to have some awful experience to shake you to see. Connection doesn't always arrive as certainty. Sometimes it arrives as a softening. So just know the space between continues. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this sacred space with us. As you return to your day, may you carry whatever resonated, whatever stirred, whatever invited you more deeply into presence. The space between heaven on earth is a companion to awakening heaven on earth, where the teachings are explored through reflection and lived experience. If this conversation spoke to you, I invite you to sit with it, breathe with it, and allow it to unfold in your own way and time. Until we meet again, may you walk gently and remember the unity that already lives within you.